natural life first start, and then we'll maybe work backwards on why you're there. But tell us about it.
Well, it is, as it says on the can, really, it is the system of natural life. It follows the rhythms of life that we all have, that each hemisphere has. You look outside of you and it's a reflection. So it teaches us to become the observer of nature so that we can integrate more with it. It is in many ways, it's a return to who we are as human beings. You know, we are the most intelligent species on the planet. We are at the top of the food chain, if you like, in so many ways, because we have the capacity to choose and to discern, make discernments and make judgments in a way. And one of the things that I've discovered is that being a plant-based system, which we start with the physical dimension because that's the most dense part of our body, and starting with the food, there's a whole realm of yes foods and no foods. And in that way, when you eat yes foods, automatically you discard no foods. So there you are making a judgment, and you start right at the very beginning with your physical body and put that back in order. And because it's plant-based, it makes one much more stable. Think about a plant, a tree, it's rooted in the ground. It doesn't move. It can flex and go with the wind and go with everything else. But it's very rooted in its own being, in its own self, really, and moves as part of nature. So to start off with, it's yes foods and no foods. And, you know, there's a list of foods, the grains, the legumes, vegetables, lots of plant-based foods. But there are some exclusions to that, specifically for the energy associated with those particular foods, like the nightshades, for instance, and walnuts and peaches. And, you know, walnuts, if you look at a walnut tree, underneath a walnut tree, nothing else grows. So it has this capacity to get rid of everything in sight. So if that's what you want, you don't want anyone to come close to you, eat plenty of walnuts, which is, we are not really, as human beings, built that way. So there's a whole rationale and reason and logic behind the system of natural life, very well thought through. And its founder, Michelangelo Chieccha, you know, got to a point in life when, at the age of 21 or so, he was given 3 months to live. So, and then I think he got a little bit annoyed after sort of coping with the information that he'd been given, and decided, well, if I'm going to die, I'm going to die my way. And that was at 21, and I think he's 60 something this year coming. And his research, based on personal experiences, is what created the system of natural life. And again, like life, it's evolving, it's growing. You know, when new information comes in, we adapt. But there is a steadfastness sticking to the yes foods and the no foods.
Yeah, you're great at it. Bring up a thing. So yeah, it's completely plant-based, no caffeine, no sugar,
no dairy, no honey. Yeah, pretty much. No walnuts, no peaches, no nectarines, some exotic fruits, always looking for what's around in the local and in season. For instance, we've just had a beautiful glut of Brussels sprouts because, you know, seasonally, this is the time of year when they're all coming to pass. And so just eat with the rhythms of nature, what nature provides for us. And nature provides for us in order to prepare us for the next season. For instance, you know, back in September, October time is grape season. So jolly good idea to eat plenty of grapes. And if you look at grapes, they even look like the alveoli of the lungs. So Therefore, it prepares the lungs to do their job through the next season. And, you know, these kinds of connections are extraordinary, really. They're obvious. They're right in front of you. You can see, once you know what the alveoli of a lungs look like, you can see, oh yes, the grapes. God, I didn't know that. And if you get another story that helps you understand where you are right now, and it makes more sense to you, then that's the story to go with.
Yeah.
Because our lives are made up of stories. I mean, I can tell you the story of the maple tree, for instance. You know, why maple syrup is so much better for you than any other kinds of sweetener. Because the maple tree, when it grows, it will take 40 years before it will give off its sap just at the very beginning. So that's the point. You know, so there's 40 years of maturation built into the maple syrup. And that's just the beginning. And that's a very young sapling of a maple tree. So you've got this slow, precise energy that is contained within the maple syrup. And it's beautifully sweet, and I love it. That, compared to sugarcane, which is very spiky, you know, because, you know, all you have to do is watch your children after they've eaten a bit too much sugar and how much hyperactivity that's going on. And, you know, there you can get a crop of sugarcane, and it will huge, fantastically high, spring up 3-4 crops a year. So that's the energy. There's the energy of sugar compared to maple syrup, which is languishing and slow and just, you know, been moving around a little bit and growing its trunk, and eventually will give off its sap. You know, so there's a complete contrast between one or the other. And if we have been inundated, and our bodies have been inundated with spike, to redress the balance, maple syrup is phenomenal. It's great. So it's all about redressing the balance.